Welcome to the MMC Season 2 Power Rankings made by mods. I am Manaburn, and we're finally dropping it. It was a bit of a hassle to make, and we really wanted to release it between the draft and the scheduling. So thank you for your patience so that we could get this out before week 1 started. It's gonna be a bit more rushedly made because of this, so bear with me. You also get to have some behind the scene footage of me reading my notes that I have made here in the bottom of my slides. And we're gonna race because we got 18 teams and we are busy living. So this is the grading process. You can pause the screen and read it. And 3 out of 4 mods were involved in the grading of these teams. It was not an individual, it was a team effort. Thank you to everyone that participated. And up at number 18, we have Ceruledge Crusade. And I think it's so base that we ranked the Draga squad lowest. With Shedinia and Bidoof taking 2 slots, they don't have much room to consolidate all like conventional boxes that you want to fill. And so like there is no fairy type, there's no dragon, there's no steel type, there's no fire type, like you can also read anytime you can pause the screen and read like some of the notes that we based our grading on. And I think it's also it makes me a little happy because I think it says something about our roster that the speed demon dynamic duo that can solo teams on their own is ranked last. Each team is supposedly better than the next one, or better than the last one. Then we have Vinkevin Vivians with Forza. And Annihilate has to be the single mon that will scare me the most in prep, because anything can happen when there is an Annihilate. It gets Rage Fists, and then mons die rather quickly. Unfortunately, the speed cap is very low, and the hazard game revolves around Regirock, Gligar, Claydol, and Claydol mainly. And these are not the best mons. And you really hate it when your Mega Scissor ends up being on default duty. At number 16, we have Zalagris with the Quagsire Quakers. Shout out to my fellow Swede. They got strong offensive options and is very, very frail. Glass Cannon. It's so impractical to see Lando Eye and Megadactyl being the hazard removers. And you're gonna have to end up playing a lot of fast-paced matches. I think that Licorice will either live or die trying, and it's really gonna suck when they run into the Skarm or the Corviknight in this league. Then we have Melbourne Magearna by Average Nerd, I think they go by right now. Never count out King Gambit, or you will lose the chess endgame. They have a low speed cap as well, with 110. And it's really unfortunate that both King Gambit and Kangaskhan and the Garganacl are fighting weak. So, like, the Slowbro Galar has a lot of work to do here. With that said, really looking forward to seeing Ogerpon Fire in action. Go Fire! And this we have Steve with the House of Mouse. And I think this is one of the more fun drafts in my opinion, one of the fun teams. Urshifu Rapid Strike is one of my pet mons, and or if you can call it a pet mon, it's a good mon and everyone uses it. But when it's played well, it's like the best mon ever, more so than anything else. And I do think it will do a lot in tandem with like the Future King slow reception mon. I can see this team having issues getting the Arcelina in, because like the team has a lot of momentum, don't get me wrong, but the physical mons are gonna bait in physically defensive like flying types a lot of the time, and they will be immune to the ground moves. So here's hoping to that Ursaluna can beat them anyways. We shall see. And then we have the rain team. The Surfing Wakes by Let Milk, and this might very well be the most underrated team on this power ranking, because it's a very focused rain team, but it's probably the best rain team ever. You got the Pelipper, you got the Zapdos, you got the Battle Bond Greninja, and you got the Mega Swampert. Will say also, disclaimer, Battle Bond Gren hits harder than Ash Gren when it does have the boost. I want to mention. And I do think Poliwrath is redundant as the 4th water type. And Armaldo could be like a fat grass type if they had the points. But hey, guess Rapid Spin, all you need. And then we had Joey, our season's resident stall enjoyer. I may change your nickname to that. We got the Gen 6 core with Mega Sableye, Blissey, and Skarmory. Except the Skarmory is a Corviknight, which is even better, depending on who you ask. The team is very passive overall, and like Electrode is fast, but you're not gonna bring it every game. And then you drop down to 1 of 5, and Cryo will also not be brought to every game. And when your fastest mons are like your bad mons, then your team is gonna be slow a lot of the time, or you're gonna have to run Scarf. So I think a lot of Joe's performance will rely on how he can leverage a Scarf Lando and or a Scarf Lele. And then we have the Toronto Rantrums that can truly play around on your team. So get up Stealth Rocks, or get up Spikes, or both, because they are a bit low on removal, or Byro is. Because Finn does like to click Defog, sure. It's also the only mon on your team that does enjoy clicking Defog. Noivern, sure, it can Defog, but there's a very big risk of taking a bit too big of a hit in the process. And I do think also that like sure, you got some offense with like the Darm and the Beedrill and the Raikou, but against some of the other teams here, you're gonna lose a lot of races in trying to deconstructing the opposing team. So like a lot of your wins is gonna come from Rose Raid getting those spikes up and actually taking advantage of all the switches you force with your more offensive mons. And then we have Meep from the Bristol Darkwazas, and they have probably the 2 mons that are the best at dismantling an entire team in Spectre and Sneasler, which is great for them. I honestly almost wish and expected your like other 8 mons to take more of a supported role in order to just enable you to do your 2 things really, really well. Currently you are a bit flying weak, and players can certainly exploit that only Togekiss and Scizor can click Defog, and it's a lot less fun to go into Spectrier and Sneasler when there's rocks on the ground, and perhaps spikes too. Jesus, there's a lot of hazards nowadays. Then we have Claire Kingdrass with Patrick, and this is probably the most fun team to analyze, because it manages to be well-rounded and volatile at the same time. Megamaw being low in Steel type, it sticks out, and I will argue that Weezing Galar and the Halucha is maybe a little bit out of place. You have a lot of mons that gain momentum in both Hydreigon, Stealth, and Rotom, which are 3 of your 4 best mons, so they will be brought a lot, and you're gonna build momentum, and then you will go to Weezing, and Weezing is a mon that it won't give you more momentum, and it's not really a mon that forces progress either against your opponent's team. So I can certainly see it being stuck. And then Lucha is a strong mon that I think you can use very well. Uh, but it certainly won't. It also its biggest strength does not lie in its ability to pivot. I think we both can agree on that. So I'm looking forward to see you using a more offensive High Dragon, because that is gonna to enable Mega Mawile so much more, and that in turn will enable your surprisingly potent cleanup mons in a Self, Frostlass, and Halusha. So be offensive with the Hydra, I dare you. And then we have Kenny with the Team Plasma Porygons. And if Let Milk had the Rain team that we were underrating the most, then this may very well be the squad that we are overrating the most. Because, well, it does have Shiyu, and maybe the strongest Ogre Pon in this format. It's hard to identify strong cores, and by that I'm pretty much exclusively talking about the Fairy Steel Dragon core, because Ligo Hisui is not great, and the core itself is really passive. Clef is the most offensive mon of those three, and a lot of the team's performance will probably lie in how Kenny leverages, Shiyu and Ogrepon in particular. With that said, there's a Gliscor there too. Gliscor will always be dominate over like slower teams, and it can do so much. I'm also really excited to see Ogidogi. It's the wild card of the format, if you will. Then you have the Independente Registils. I hope that was not an offensive attempt at an Italian accent, and I don't know if that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. Feel free to correct me. If this team had a Roaring Moon, it would be the best team ever. Right now, it's a good team, and it contains a lot of the best Sun mons. It can leave Sun behind even, but I will ask you what you are doing. What are you doing, man, if you don't bring Sun to your matchups? Because Sun makes a big part of your team so much better, and I feel like without it, it goes from kinda strong to kinda mid. So I encourage you to bring the Sun and execute your game plan as much as possible. And also be wary of rocks, especially, and when you play against players with strong ghost type, expect them to carry an air balloon to check your task and spin block you. Then we got Navy Seals with Dries. This is probably my favorite team that isn't my own, and most of it comes from the Empoleon Latias core, which not only cover each other's weaknesses very well, they also just consolidate hazards really well. Latias also just gets to be fast, and it's one of those mons that, like, I'm not used it very much, but when I do, it's so good. So really looking forward to see what you're doing with this core, and then you just got solid offense with the Mega Deancy and the Zeraora. I I am personally not a fan of Galarian Darmanitan, but maybe you know something I don't. And I really want to see Galarian Moltres do something in a singles draft league, because I have yet to see it do anything. So yeah, looking forward to that one. And then we have Troy or Cran. Mon shoutout. Um, it's hard to comment on because it's very solid. Um, I can see that opponents may end up catching Troy's like defensive mons in Slowbro, Mandibus, and or Amoonguss out of guard. Like, say someone pivot a say Patrick pivots the Mega Mawile in on Sharpedo, or no, sorry, Mandibus. What do you do? And stuff like that. So I feel like the way Troy is going to win his games is truly by positioning his walls correctly so that they don't become too much of momentum sinks. And then he can, from there, go into Megalop and or Guard Chomp. Don't lose your win cons too early, Troy, because you can certainly quickly run out of firepower if you're not careful. And now we have Vic. We have the Center City Cerulege. And this team is very similar to the other weather teams, ironically. Not because of the snow, but more so because it's it's trying to the strongest iteration of this team will always be um, trying to execute this strong but also very linear game plan of getting hazard control, getting up a veil, and then you get in backs. Sure, you can also get in like Mega Camerupt or Torn or maybe Metagross, but Baxcalibur is so much stronger than all of them, especially when it's like a Ninetales that has set Aurora Veil and you have to snow up. And ironically, because of this, um, if this strategy does not work, I can certainly see the team crumbling rather quickly during matches. It's a make or break it scenario. Because of this, I think that Mienshao is the most interesting Pokemon to watch out for in seeing how this team performs, because it will be the Gloomon that, if Vix needs to go about executing his game plan in a more roundabout way, Mienshao is a prime candidate for doing it when it pairs with Tornado Spherian in particular. And then we have Silvally Swedes by Mana Burn. As it says in the script, we have it below. Only regret is not being able to claim Surfetch was my number one pick this draft. And I'm not gonna try to think of a way to improve on a perfect roster. On to newer Garchomps with IHLP. I wanna know why the name. And it might be the most interesting team. 4 months together with the Sard, the Threads, the Coco, and the Bundle. Probably makes it so that you have the strongest offense in this draft league, in my opinion. But then you follow it up with the most passive Remagens mons you can find. And I am puzzled almost, because I myself would have more so looked towards more hazards or more hazard control or more momentum. Sure, Alamomola does get flip turn and baton pass. Um, it's the only thing you're going to do. I don't really see you wish passing with it. But we'll see. Prove me wrong. I'm a big fan of the Yuxi here, though, because of the ground immunity it provides. Be careful of Stealth Rocks, because while you do have solid removal in Threads and Coco, they really hurt your Bootsless Bundle and Megazard. And then finally, we have Elliot. Coming in with the very strong core of Iron Valiant, Roaring Moon, and then you round it out with Goldengo, Slowking, and tick boxes the rest of the draft. I mean, it's just good. I think that I know that he got a lot of critique for and didn't like it himself, that he didn't like his rockers and he didn't like his hazard removers. But I don't think it's gonna be a problem, because you're gonna bring Val, Moon, Goldengo, Slowking, and 90% of your games, and then you have 2 slots to consolidate whatever you need. It's gonna be enough. It's gonna be great. Go Elliot, do your worst. Then finally we got through. I hope it didn't take too much time. I know that I could have talked a lot more about each team, but I think I got the most interesting points I had through. This is an overview of the power rankings. And I urge you not to focus too much on the tiers because they are not what's important here. It was just a way. This is just a way to get an overview view of how we ranked the teams. So thank you for watching. Looking forward to the games. Bye.